Does she want the book? Yeah, I brought some extra. Thank you. Yeah, sure. بحسن ظنكم ما شاء الله. Okay, بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. نعم. You will start with the dua that is at the beginning of the book. But for the book.
Oh, Bismillah. Oh, you maybe put it in the bag and take it, or?
Yeah,
So
I
it
have the
doesn't
bag
fly.
and book books.
Yeah.
I just carried the book. الله بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين اللهم صل وسلم على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه في كل لحظة أبدا على نعم الله وفضله اللهم آتنا من لدنك الرحمة وعلمنا من لدنك علما سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم نوانا تعلم وتعليم وتذكر وتذكير النفع والانتفاع والإفادة والاستفادة والحث على التمسك بكتاب الله وسنة رسوله صلى الله عليه وآله وصحبه وسلم ودعاء إلى الهدى ودلالة على الخير ابتغاء وجه الله ومرضاته وقربه وثوابه سبحانه وتعالى مع لطف وعافية برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين اللهم إنا نسألك علما لدنيا مشرب صافي الهني يا وهاب يا غني اللهم إنا نسألك العلم لدنيا مشرب صافي الهني يا وهاب يا غني اللهم إنا نسألك العلم لدنيا ومشرب صافي الهني يا وهاب يا غني اللهم صل وسلم على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم اللهم ألهمنا علما نفقه به أوامرك ونواهيك وارزقنا فهما نعرف به كيف ناجيك يا أرحم الراحمين اللهم إنا نسألك فهم النبيين وحفظ المرسلين وإلهام الملائكة المقربين في عافية يا أرحم الراحمين اللهم أغننا بالعلم وزينا بالحلم وأكرمنا بالتقوى وجملنا بالعافية يا أرحم الراحمين آمين وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم اللهم صل وسلم على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم اللهم إنا نستودعك ما قرأناه وما نقرأه في هذا المجلس وما قبله وما بعده فاحفظه علينا حتى ترده إلينا وقت احتياجنا إليه يا أرحم الراحمين اللهم أكرمنا بالنور الفهم وأخرجنا من ظلمات الوهم وافتح لنا أبواب رحمتك وانشر علينا حكمتك يا أرحم الراحمين آمين وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم اللهم يا من مقاليد الأمور كلها بيده وإليه يرجع الأمر كله يا فتاح يا عليم يا فتاح يا عليم يا فتاح يا عليم افتح علينا فتحا قريبا وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي وسدد لساني واهدي قلبي وافعل كذلك بأحبابي أبدا وارزقنا كمال فتوح العارفين والفقه في الدين مع كمال الإخلاص والصدق واليقين والعافية والغنى والنسل والحفظ والنفع والانتفاع وخير الدارين وعلم الأولين والآخرين آمين وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم والحمد لله رب العالمين.
Order, but it's okay, right?
Yeah, it's okay. I have a lot. It's okay. الحمد لله رب العالمين الفاتحة أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين 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 يا رب العالمين الحمد لله الحمد لله الحمد لله Alhamdulillah, the best way to edit your own book is to teach it. So that I took my husband's copy because he wrote it in he's using my copy to study in Darul Mustafa this copy. So I didn't want to write in any new ones because like it's like wasted. You write in it, you know. So he really wrote into this one. So I'm just gonna use this one as my edited version because if I see any mistakes, I can do an on-spot edition. You just mention there's a mistake there. Like mashallah. Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. Right, this is what I was printing in Singapore. If you're wondering why is it different, it's the Singapore print.
And this is
Right,
where?
it's Tarim.
Oh,
This is in Tarim. Not bad, right?
Hazra Press.
No, Hazra Press is what is the publisher in Singapore.
Okay.
Right, so I own the copyright and own the PDF. So the Tarim, the shop down here.
But the yellow pages are easy on the eye.
Yeah.
I like this paper. It's
It's the Tarimi one. So I'm like, this is the Tarimi edition. So I'm gonna make a few Singapore and say it's a Tarimi edition. Special edition. Because Singapore, they can't do that page. You can't do the yellow page. I asked them that if you can do the yellow page. They're like, what yellow page? The yellow page. The green page. You don't know? Yeah, they only know the white one. They don't know this one. MashaAllah. So you all have the Tarimi version. It's larger also. It's smaller. It's A5. This is a larger
So
version.
the Tarimi is this one, right?
Yes.
Is this one? Is
Yes.
this page is always yellow?
It's a yellow one and it's larger. It's larger. I ran out of the Singapore one. I ran out. MashaAllah. But it's the same. It's exactly the same. Because it's the same PDF.
And so you can actually change what you want to write here because
Yes.
it's not from Singapore. What's yani?
Yes,
Surah
yes,
concerning
yes,
the person in Singapore, right?
Yeah, I want a copyright. so I do whatever I want to do with this book, inshallah. No, mashallah. Right, but you can see the Habib Muhammad Al-Durus, he wrote the foreword here.
Oh, mashallah.
Right, I don't think we read through it. Right, but he did. If you can see the one that Darul Mustafa from Darul Mustafa. Right, so because these are things that Habib loves to see. Right, one thing that I learned that Habib he wants to see what the graduates are doing. So he does ask. So whenever they go to Singapore, they go to Malaysia, they go to the parts of the world, they will ask, what are the graduates doing? Right? What efforts have you put in? What are your da'wah works and so on? Right? Habib Omar. Habib Omar wants to know, right? What are we doing? Those who have graduated. Right? So we do. Like right now, we're writing a report, of our activities and so on, because it makes them happy. That something is being done, the efforts you're doing and everything. It does, you can see them, they get very happy, right, when things are done. So whenever we do any publications, right, to run it by them and get their barakah, their dua and so on, and they're writing down something, right, so that, it brings happiness to our sheikh's heart, right, when he sees things being done, mashallah. So all the niyats, all the intentions is to just, bring happiness to the heart of our sheikh, right, that he feels, okay, it's being brought to the English speaking audience, it's being translated and so on and so forth, right. So mashallah. So which is why we usually will try and, so Muniba was one who helped me from Singapore get the I sent the PDF over. She showed them the PDF, right, and then Habib Muhammad, who's in charge of da'wah, right, he wrote down the muqaddimah. Right, so I just translated it at the side, at the back. I wrote out the Arabic again and then the translation, alhamdulillah. Right, so we're coming into the text of the book itself, right? So we are on Aqidah al-Mujmala lil Imam al-Haddad. Right, so Mujmala meaning something that from the word right, so it is Mujmal, right? So Aqidah al-Mujmala, right? So it is something that is concise, it is general, it has encompassed everything. Okay? It is an all-encompassing Aqidah. An all-encompassing Aqidah. Right, so whatever we believe in generally, right, for a believer, it is in here, right. So while it is important, for every believer to know the 20 sifat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the 20 attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we know that if you go back to your towns, you ask just any random person, any Muslim, right, do they know the 20 sifat? Most Muslims don't know it. Right? Are they in sin? Answer is no, they are not in sin. As long as they have in their heart a belief that Allah is perfect, that Allah is bikulli sifatil kamal, right? So all of the perfect attributes are for Allah. What they are, maybe they don't know, but they have that, that Allah is by every perfect attribute and He is free from every defect. Right? That is what you say that is mujmala. Right? In the sense that is it encompasses the entire thing. So a general Muslim, who has not gone to study or whatsoever, they would know that. They would know that. And they have to know that, and they have to believe that Allah has no defect at all. And Allah is absolutely perfect. So when they don't know the 20 attributes, that is part of studying. Right? But if they have this, firm aqidah, Allah is perfect, beyond description. There is no naqs. There is no deficiency to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The aqidah is safe. This is sound aqidah, right? And then when they come to the prophets, I say the prophets are human, right? But they are above other human beings. They don't commit sins like other human beings, right? So if someone were to have that aqidah, general aqidah about the prophets, that is enough. right? Because it's a general thing, general, right? But of course, you go deep into what the prophets are. There are the four attributes, right, of the prophets have, but they all come under the same statement. Right? They are ma'asum, right? They are protected by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They cannot commit sin because why? They carry the message. Right? So it's not possible for them to fall into sin like how other human beings fall into. And in fact, in Aqidatul Awam, in this Sharah Jalal Afam, right, the Sheikh actually explains how do we understand some stories of the prophets that it seems as if they fell into sin. It seems as if right, they fell into sin, but did not fall into sin. Right? So when you understand that what happened with them, you understand it was not a sin. Right? But it was a human, it was something that was human. So something that is human can happen to prophets. It can. So that, for example, the Prophet ﷺ, right, there was once him and the Sahaba, all of them, slept through subuh. There's one incident. They all slept with subuh, and he was the first one to wake up because of the heat of the sun that was shining on his face. MashaAllah. Because the story was that they were traveling. They were on jihad, they were traveling, they were exhausted. It's human. Right? It's human. So sometimes it happens to a human being. Right? You're exhausted. Right, and then he said, who will wake us up for subuh? So Bilal, me. he volunteered. I will wake everybody up for subuh. And then they all slept. Right, and no one woke up until the sun was high in the sky, right, and the sun was shining hard on their faces, and some people were the first to wake up, right, and he saw everyone asleep, right, and the sun was high in the sky. They all didn't pray subuh, right, and then where is Bilal? Right, and then they found Bilal sleeping. Miskin Bilal. He was sleeping, and then he said, Bilal, right, you were supposed to wake us up. Then Bilal said, what overtook you overtook me, and then I also fell asleep. But from there the Sharia came, right, whereby he did not pray immediately, Sharia, because it was not left on purpose. So there's no sin that is ticking, right? He didn't pray immediately. In fact, they actually travel a bit more, right? Still in the morning they traveled, right, and then they stopped, took their wudu, and they prayed subuh, right, jama'ah. Right, so he showed that if it was really a human mistake, right, you fell asleep not on purpose. Right, the sin is, there's no sin, so therefore the qada, you must do the qada, but the qada is not fawran. Don't have to do it immediately. Right, as opposed to someone who left the prayer on purpose, the moment the prayer left its timing, the sin begins to be counted until they perform the qada. This our fiqh. So from that point, mashallah, you see, so someone said the Prophet has never missed a prayer on time. No, he has. Human, in a human way, never on purpose, but in a human way, yes. That happened.
They play Jamaah. Salah in Jamaah.
Yeah, they pray in Jamaah. They actually pray in Jamaah qada. You can pray qada salah in Jamaah. There were people some time ago in Tarim that they were from the West, and when they came to Tarim, they had years of prayers not prayed. So in Jamaah, there was one time, I don't remember, you remember, there was one time they were in the Ghurfatul Duyuf, if I'm not wrong, and they were all of them had qada. So while everybody was praying Taraweeh, they were praying a Jama'ah of Subuh, Zuhur, Asr, Maghrib, Isha, Subuh, Zuhur, Asr, Maghrib, Isha.
In Ramadan, we pray qada with every fard.
Yeah, and they do that as well.
Jama'ah, we pray that Jama'ah.
Yeah, and they do that in the Zahra, they do it in Jama'ah.
Yeah,
mashallah. You forgot. Yeah, they do. You can pray Jama'ah in the qada, mashallah. Right, so mashallah, anyway, to show that, inshallah, as you go through Al-Awam, you will see for prophets, what might seem as a sin on the part of the prophet, right, it was not a sin. Right, like the example, again, the example of Nabi Yunus, alayhi salam. Right, Nabi Yunus, alayhi salam, he was, basically he was thrown off the ship, right, because he had left his people too prematurely, right, without permission from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right. The thing about it was that, so if you go into the history of Nabi Yunus, and a lot of this you also will find from Qasul Haq from Habib Omar. Habib Omar does a lot of tafsir of the stories in the Quran, and he mentions the story and he gives you a clarity of what happened with the prophets when this happened. So Nabi Yunus, he was calling his people to Islam for a long time. Then eventually he left the people and went on the ship, and Allah caused for him to be thrown off the ship, right? And there he made his repentance. But did he commit a sin, Nabi Yunus? No, the answer was no. Right? Because he was told by the angels. The angels told him, tomorrow the punishment will come. So when you're told that, for the prophets, that means, okay, it's done. The mission is finished, it's done. The punishment is coming, therefore you have to leave. Right? But there was no permission per se, but he was told. So human mistake. It's a human mistake. So you were told punishment will come. The following day, he saw the clouds coming. So with his own eyes, he saw the punishment coming. So to him, you got to get out. Right? The punishment is on its way. So as a human being, you will assume already, right? You assume there is time to leave. But there was where he it was an oversight, right? That Allah had not given him the commandment to leave. Right, but the angels told him about it. Right, so he assumed that he had permission to leave. Assumption. But human is human. So it was not sinful. But it was a fair mistake. And then he left. But there was no permission to leave. And when he left, the people woke up in the morning and they saw the cloud and they panicked. Right, because they know what it's about. This is the punishment that Yunus has been talking about. Right, and they were like, where is he? He had gone. And they were searching for him. They couldn't find him because he left already. Right? And then they all made repentance. Right? They all made the whole town of Nineveh. Right? The whole town made repentance. Right? And then Allah sent Nabi Yunus back. Right? Go back to your town, people. They have repented. Mashallah. So that's how you understand. Right? That prophets. Right? It was not a sin. Right? It was not sin. Habib Omar, I think one of his causes, he explained Nabi Adam as well. He explained Nabi Adam that what happened to Nabi Adam alayhi salam. Of course, in the Quran, we'll see the guile of Iblis. Iblis says, "Oh, it's a tree that's going to make you forever. It is the tree of khuld," right? And so on and so forth. Nabi Adam actually did not fall for any of those tricks. Right? Then eventually, Habib explained one of his causes. Mashallah, Habib Omar, mashallah. So you get all this insight from the Mashayikh. He explained that Iblis, what kept coming. He kept coming to the point that Nabi Adam got used to his presence. He was always around, Iblis. He kept coming. And then he went to say, try this tree. And there was a tree that was halal. You could eat it. So he tried it. Oh, it's nice. Then Iblis said, I've been here for a long time. I know. Right? Try this tree. Then Nabi Adam, took it. And it's nice. Right? In a sense. So Iblis was doing this and without realizing, and Nabi Adam without realizing, Iblis pointed to the haram tree. Try this one. So it was that he didn't notice it was the haram one. And that's how Iblis will do it to us. Do this, it's halal, right? Do this one, yeah, it's still halal. Do this one, yeah, it's still halal. And if you do, then the haram comes. He didn't even realize that the haram came. Mashallah. Right? Then he realized when Allah called out to him, then he realized, right, am I at the tree? Right, is this the tree? Subhanallah. And that was what Habib explained. Then Nabi Adam, he didn't even notice that he actually went near the tree. There was so which is why it's important to read texts, right, about prophets correctly. Right, from the ulama, right, from the scholars who have basira, they've either side. Right, I know I read someone's story of how they came into Islam, and they said one of the main reasons why they came into Islam was because his previous text. Right, when he read the Bible, as he was a Christian, when he read the Bible, he used to have a very high esteem of prophets. Like he loved prophets. But when he read the Bible has a lot of slander, blasphemy on prophets and the sins of prophets. It's all lies. Right, they say Nabi Dawud was a drunkard. They say that Nabi this was whatever. They have all the lies on prophets. So when he read the Bible, he was shocked at the amount of, not just sins, but enormous sins that the Bible will say the prophets did. Right? So he couldn't take it. Right? So he left it. That caused him to leave the religion of Christianity. Right? And then he went on without a religion. But he believed in God. Right? Then eventually Allah let his sincerity bring him to Islam. And when he found about Islam, infallible prophets, that makes sense. Right? Prophets that cannot commit sin. That makes a lot of sense. They cannot commit sin. Right? Because they are leaders. They cannot. Right? Subhanallah. On the side of the Bible, they make the prophets sinful as an excuse as to why they can sin. It becomes an excuse. Or even the prophets do it. That kind of thing, you know. And now in our ummah, people say it about the ulama. Right, so this is why it's a responsibility on someone who teaches religion. They say, oh, even that ustad does it, even this ustad does it. Right, so therefore we can do it. Right, now but they're not prophets. Right, they're human beings. Right, they commit sin. So you can't say even the ustazah does this. Okay, right, so it's fine. But if I hear kids saying, even ustazah does it, what? Right, so you know they go in that way, then they give it as an excuse that even the religious teacher does it. Right? So what more if prophets did it? Or that will destroy the ummah if prophets did it. You know, mashallah. But they are ma'asum. Right? They are protected. So the Aqidah al-Mujmala lil-Imam al-Haddad, Bismillahir-Rahmanir-Rahim. فإن والحمد لله قد رضينا بالله ربا وبالإسلام دينا وبسيدنا محمد صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم نبيا ورسولا وبالقرآن إماما وبالكعبة قبلة وبالمؤمنين إخوانا وتبرأنا من كل دين يخالف دين الإسلام وآمنا بكل كتاب أنزله الله وبكل رسول أرسله الله وبملائكة الله وبالقدر خيره وشره وباليوم الآخر وبكل ما جاء به سيدنا محمد صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم عن الله تعالى على ذلك نحيا وعليه نموت وعليه نبعث إن شاء الله من الآمنين الذين لا خوف عليهم ولا هم يحزنون بفضلك اللهم يا رب العالمين وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وآله وصحبه وسلم والحمد لله رب العالمين آمين. That is the general creed, mashallah. I just remember last week that I stopped at the 10 mabadi, right? I was at the mabadi. I'm just going to go back a little bit and I'm going to come forward. We were at the connection to other knowledges, right? We stopped there, right? The founder of this, right, is every prophet. We spoke about it. Right? Every prophet, Nabi Adam alayhi salam, as he taught about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right, via revelation from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. As for those who wrote it down and started it, we spoke about Imam Abu al-Hasan al-Ash'ari and Imam Abu Mansur al-Maturidi, right? And we are on the Ash'ari Tawheed, right? Tawheed. Name Aqidah, Tawheed, Usuluddin, Ilmul Kalam. Right, it is from, and we spoke about actually. Did I finish it? Right, so it is on the proofs of the mind. As you mentioned, that Aqidah must come from the mind. Right, whereas to Sharia it is taslim. That means you obey, you submit Sharia. Right, where Islam calls you to think is the part of Aqidah. And that is how non-Muslims come into Islam. Right, it is by the mind. Right, when they look at something and they see what Islam says about it, right, then they believe, yes, it's true. Right? And that is why if someone were to approach you and say, you know, what is the wisdom behind this law and this law and this law? And if you say correctly, if you say, you know what, we say sami'na wa ata'na. We say we hear and we obey. If the person counters and says, but I'm supposed to ask. The Quran says ask, you know, inquire. Right, ask and think about it. Answer is, it refers to the Aqidah. It refers to the Aqidah. Like for example, just to show a parallel, in case someone asks these kind of questions, because we were saying that these classes are also a training ground, okay? So you can go back to your countries and also handle these people, because there are a lot of them around. So for example, like very clear example, if you go to a doctor, right? And you see the doctor's entire qualifications, his qualifications. So from the qualifications, right now you know this doctor knows what he's doing. He has specialized in this field, right? He is a trained doctor, right? You are not trained. You're not a doctor whatsoever. Right? So then, if he says take this medication, right, and then you say, okay, tell me how it works. It's like you need about 10 years of studying before you can understand what I'm about to say to you. Right? I can't even explain it to you because you don't even have the background for it. How am I going to explain this to you? Right? Some doctors, they try to explain to us, you know, mashallah. Right? But then you say, then how should I believe you when you can't tell me how it works? And the doctors will say, my certs. Look at my certification. Look at my my qualifications. That is enough to tell you that I know what I'm saying. Right? So with regards to the dunya, you understand this. So you don't go around questioning the doctor when you're not a doctor yourself, right? For example. Of course, Allah is above all examples. And Allah is the creator of the heavens and the earth. So once you have come into your heart with logical proofs and also textual proofs, evidence that Allah is the creator, right? Allah is God over everything. When that has come into your heart, then whatever the creator says, it is correct. And it's to your benefit. It's not to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He has no need for us. Right? But it's to our benefit without any doubt. Then when it comes to your heart, it has come to your heart from all of the proofs of prophethood of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And for Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they can be proofs from his narrations, from the hadith, from the Quran, and also from the aql. There's also from the aql, like proofs from the mind. So once you say Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, so you have placed your trust because you believe that He is God, subhanahu wa ta'ala. Wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. You have placed your entire self beneath, right, at the feet of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Whatever he says is correct, even if there's no proof for it scientifically. It's regardless. It's regardless. Even if I don't understand why the law is like that, it's regardless. Because why? I've seen the proofs about his prophethood, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So the questions on the truth of Islam comes at the point of aqidah. The questions happen there, not at the point of sharia. Sharia is sami'ana wa ata'na. And the scholars will say that if everything in sharia has to be logical, then explain the khuf. Right? If you know the khuf, the law of the khuf, right? The khuf is the boot. Right? So you can take wudu and you can wipe the top of the khuf. And your wudu counts. It counts. So if you say everything in the sharia is logical, explain the khuf. Why must you wipe the top part? Right? What do you mean the bottom part? Right? The ulama say, if you want to talk about logic, a lot of things we don't understand. We won't say illogical. We say we don't understand. And why the khuf thing, just you wipe one drop. Even one drop counts, Even one drop counts. And you have wudu. Subhanallah. Mashallah. So don't question Sharia. Sharia is not the place of question. It's a place of obedience and submission. The questions come at the part of Aqidah. And when you use your mind, right, you will see clearer and clearer the Aqidah of Islam is perfect without anything in the Aqidah of Islam. So that is why the I think that's where I went off again. Right, on that, where it's derived from the mind as well as revealed text. So you can see why the mind is important. You won't find from the mind for Sharia. Right, for Sharia, Nas. Right, Quran, Hadith, Ijma', Qiyas. That's where we get our Sharia. Right, you will not find the mind being a component of how do we figure out Sharia. No, because the mind is the mind is very weak. And the Sharia, the mind is not a place for the Sharia. Right, but text, right, text. Okay, legal ruling in this knowledge is fardu ayn on every person to know the minimum, and fardu kifaya to go deeper in. Right, with regards to any innovations and so on, right, to really go into ilmu kalam and so on, right, all of that is fardu kifaya. In case there are people, right, who live in a strange world, right, and because I've met them, whereby there's this one person I met, in Singapore, she believes that we're in some form of computer game. I don't know what name she called it a particular name. I don't know what it was. Muslim. So strange. We're in some this kind of some of simulation computer game going on, and there was this weird thing that she believed in, right? And therefore there is no reality to us, right? We're not, we're in this like something like we're in some form of dream kind of thing, like some matrix or whatever. So weird. Right? Then you realize the ulama speak about it. There are human beings who do this. So not for everybody. Because there are these individual human beings that have diseases in their hearts. Right? Psychopaths. What do you call it? What do you say? Homeopathic. But you call them psychopaths. They're in something. They're in something. Right? So this is why the fardu kifaya is really only for those if you really need it. Right? Because there are those who are this is weird in some way or other. There's this thing about them. Allahu alam. Because they read stuff. Now they read stuff, right? And that is where also Tahulat comes in, right? Because of the ideologies out there, right? So if your aqidah that is not strengthened and fortified, right? Tahulat will actually fortify the aqidah of a person. So you strengthen and you fortify it, right? Otherwise, you'll be hearing from all kinds of inputs out there. Then alhamdulillah, I hope you'll never hear about it. For me, I hear because I meet these people. They are sent to me by their parents or by their friends or whosoever, right? And then so we meet them and you're like, are there such human beings? Mashallah. Then you realize that the ulama speak about it. The scholars actually speak about it. Right? There are diseased human beings, right? And they have the weirdest aqidas in their hearts. May Allah protect us from that. Right? The issues will be iman and what is necessary and what is possible, and responding to wrong ideologies and statements. That is important. And inshallah, we will go into that of wrong statements, because sometimes people say things, right, that is a wrong statement. And I shared with Zainab once. I heard the Singapore, one of my students, in fact, and one of my students, she said that, and I felt so uncomfortable with this statement. I don't know whether I should discuss before, but she said that loving Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam is easy, but loving Allah is difficult. Like when you first hear it, right, do you feel very uncomfortable with that statement? Can you actually say that? Right? I mean, can a Muslim actually say that? And like, even if you say to your parents, I would say that is rude. Say, loving mom is easy, loving dad is hard. Right? I mean, you feel like you can't say that. I mean, even if you feel it, you can't actually say it, right? Because if your father's there, he'll be hurt, right? Of course, Allah is beyond that, right? But there is a form of rudeness there. Loving the Prophet is easy, loving Allah is hard. Yeah, like in the sense that you're so blind to your ni'mah around you, right? The blessings around you. Are you that blind that you can't love Allah easily? It's so easy to love Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Just breathe. You breathe. The entire breath is from Him subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right? You eat whatever you eat is from Him subhanahu wa ta'ala. The iman that is beating in your heart is from Him subhanahu wa ta'ala. What's so hard to love? Subhanallah. Right, but when I brought the question to Zainab al-Khatib, and then she was like, strange state. I said it wasn't a question, it was a statement. She said it as a matter of fact. And I felt so, so uncomfortable that it was said. As if you feel like defending Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Like, like scolding her in the sense that, like, how can you say that? But I don't know how to respond. Right, subhanallah. So Zainab, she asked her husband, Habib Hashim, about it. And Habib Hashim said, someone who says this kind of statement, they don't actually love the Prophet in the first place. Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Because if you truly love the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, you'll be loving Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right? So if you can find yourself loving the Prophet without loving Allah, you're not truly loving the Prophet. Right? But you're loving yourself. It's a nafs thing. So it was subhanAllah, when you give an insight. Because like, I hope for everybody here, it's obvious how to love Allah. It is obvious. Right? Just look at your ni'mah. Right? Look at your the hadith of Rasulullah, وَحِبُّ اللَّهِ مَا لَا يَغْضُكُمْ بِهِ مِنْ نِعَمِهِ وَحِبُّونِ لِحُبِّ اللَّهِ وَحِبُّ أَهْلَ بَيْتِ لِحُبِّي. On the first few hadiths we learn in Darul Zahra, what book is this? I think it's Mukhtar Hadith. Now they have removed from the syllabus. Right, right, I think they removed Mukhtar. But from Mukhtar Hadith, أحب الله لما يغضوكم به من نعمه وأحبوني لحب الله وأحب أهل البيت لحبي. It means love Allah for what He has given you, right, or nourished you from His ni'mah. The words of the Prophet, dalil, proof. Right, do that and you love Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right, subhanallah. So anyway, these are statements made, and they don't realize they are really bounding on a very dangerous edge by saying it's hard to love Allah. It's from jahl. You don't realize you're saying something that is rude to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, okay.
There's also a lot of atheists that would say, like, why God is leaving everyone in war?
Yeah.
So their excuse would be like, why doesn't He do it good? Just not understanding that it's a place of test and not a place of
It's a statement of our time. She was saying that people who look around and they see war and suffering, And they say, if you say God is good, then why do we see so much evil in the world? It's a test. And so you don't ask where is God, you ask where are the people of God. And the people of God are being tested. Are you going to stand up and show goodness? Or are you going to go around blaming Allah for all this evil that's going on in the world? Mashallah. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. So the text goes, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, in the name of Allah, the All Merciful, the Especially Merciful, the overall creed of Islam, written by Imam Al-Haddad. Indeed, we and all praises are to Allah, are content with Allah as our Lord, with Islam as our religion, with our leader Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, may Allah's mercy and salutations be upon him, and his family as our prophet and messenger, with the Quran as our leader, with the Kaaba as our direction of prayer, and with the believers as our brethren. And we declare ourselves free of any religion that is contrary to the religion of Islam. Right, so we don't believe in there is an ideology. This is all under fiqh tahawulan actually. It's an ideology in our time, and some Muslims subscribe to it. I think I forgot what's the name of it. What it's called?
Mindfulness?
No, it's the one whereby it means that they believe there are many paths to God, right? Not Abrahamic, any path. There are many paths to God, and they're all valid. But I chose the path of Islam. So there are Muslims who believe, they believe that. They believe there are many paths to God, and they're all valid. Right? But I have chosen Islam to be the path that I want to take. Okay, a Muslim cannot have that. You cannot say other paths are correct. Right? Because inna dina indallahi Islam. Right? And in the other ayat, and whosoever desires Islam dinan fala yuqbal, it is not accepted from him. Whosoever wants or desires other than Islam as a religion, it is not accepted. So there are Muslims, and in fact, sometimes even I've heard of those who are preachers who accept this ideology that as long as you believe in one God, there could be other paths to this one God, including Buddhism, including the science as a path, including they have other paths that they say as long as you maintain that God is one, and they say sah. They say it's correct, it's valid. Okay, as Muslims, no. Tabarra'tu min kulli dinin yukhalifu din al-Islam. Right, that we don't accept it. Right? It has to be Islam. It has to be our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That if they believe in one God and they refuse the Prophet of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and our dalil is where Abu Sufyan, mashallah. So now Abu Sufyan, when the Muslims came, right, to conquer Mecca. And he was brought by Sayyidina Al-Abbas, right, to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And at this point, Sayyidina Abu Sufyan, he was like, khalas, they're there, the huge army, and we're all in Mecca, we're all tight, we're scared, or whatever. So he came to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and then in the seerah, Rasulullah says to him, "Oh Abu Sufyan, is it not time to realize that God is one?" And Abu Sufyan said, "As for that, I have no doubt. As for God being one, I have no doubt. If there were other than him, these other gods have helped us by now." Because they're idols, right? So if there were more than one God, he would be helping us by now. He didn't help us. I know there's one God. Then Sayyidina Abbas said, then, say the Shahada and then come into Islam. Then Sayyidina Abu Sufyan, he was like, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. He knows that. La ilaha illallah. And Sayyidina Abbas said, wa anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. And Sayyidina Abbas said, Fiya shay. There's something, there's something in my heart that's not allowing me to say that. That was the barrier. Anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. That was the barrier. Because they saw him as their contemporary, right? As a Yatim Bani Hashim, as, lower than them, as poorer than them. Abu Jahl had a big issue. He knows Rasulullah is a prophet. He would say to his companion that Muhammad is a prophet. And you fight him? And then he explained, Nahnu Bani Makhzum and Bani Hashim, like two horses racing. They give sedekah, we give sedekah. Right? They do good, we do good. They come with a prophet. We can't fight that. So we deny the prophet. So childish. You think about Abu Jahl. It's incredibly childish, right? Just because you're fighting a race, la hawla wa la quwwata illa billah, you're going to go to Jahannam. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. So Abu Sufyan was like, inside me there's something about it. Something that's stopping me. And then Sayyidina Abbas said, Wayhak! Like, woe to you! Right? Isn't it clear he is a prophet? Right, mashallah. And before that, actually, when Sayyidina Abu Sufyan was with Al-Abbas, they are friends. So Al-Abbas was always when he was trying to pull him in. When he was with Al-Abbas, and Sayyidina Abu Sufyan was there, and they were on a hill, and they were overlooking the army of the Muslims outside of Mecca. And there was a huge army coming to conquer Mecca. And Abu Sufyan says to Al-Abbas, Ya Al-Abbas, the matter or the affair of your nephew, right, is a great kingdom. My mulkun azim is a great kingdom. And Abbas turned to Abu Sufyan and said, Bal huwa nubuwah. Right? It's not a kingdom. It's prophethood. We're not talking about a king. He's not a king. He's a prophet. Right? And then it hit Abu Sufyan a little bit. So Abbas is trying to get to him, But eventually when he said, Wayhak, and he told Abu Sufyan, right, it is time that you should know that he is a prophet. Right? Then he fought his nafs. So it was no longer a matter of akidah, of not seeing the signs. He saw the signs. It was a matter of nafs. So at that moment in time, he fought his nafs and he said the shahada. And he entered into Islam. And thereafter it became easier on him. And he became one of the best companions in jihad and so on and so forth. And Abu Sufyan, mashallah, he lost both his eyes in jihad. Sayyidina Abu Sufyan, both his eyes he lost in jihad. One of the jihad, he was speared with the arrow into his eye and it came off. He took it to Rasulullah, Ya Rasulullah, my eye. Because there are a few companions who actually had that happen as well, right? And Rasulullah said that if you are patient, then for you Jannah. Otherwise I can put it back for you. And he said, I'll be patient and I want Jannah. So he went on without an eye, Sayyidina Abu Sufyan. Then later on in his life, another jihad happened and he lost the other eye as well. So he went blind for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Mashallah. So, mashallah. So these are things whereby it is innahu nubuwah. Right? And I mentioned the story because the proof that if someone were to say, it is enough, ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. If someone said that, enough to believe in the oneness of God. And I've heard one of the preachers in Singapore saying that Muslims can't say that Christians who believe in the oneness of God and they believe in Nabi Isa but don't believe in Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So they believe Nabi Isa is a prophet, and there are Christians who hold that they believe one God, Nabi Isa is a prophet. They believe that. Then the Najashi had that as well. And the Najashi actually believed the entire time Nabi Isa is prophet, not God. So when the kafir say, oh, the Muslims say that Isa is not God, Najashi in his heart, I think so too. It's not a big deal to me. I think so too. I agree with them. Right, so that's why the Najashi came into Islam quickly. And mashallah. So there are Christians who have that, but the thing about Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they could not bring themselves to embrace Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. My nephew's grandmother on his father's side, Khalil. Khalil's father was a convert. So his entire father's side, they are not Muslims, but they're Catholics. So I remember my sister was telling me there was once they came to Singapore to see Khalil. Because his father passed away, right? So the grandmother came, the grandma, right, from Mexico came. Strong Catholics, mashallah, and live in our house, right? Because of the boy lah. A child brings people together. And I think that Khalil has a big responsibility to da'wah to his father's side. He has to go to Mexico one day, and he has to go and da'wah to his father's side. His auntie and his uncles and his cousins, all on the father's side, they're all not Muslim. Right? So so my sister was telling me that she in a sense she knows Islam is correct and it's true, right? But her main question was, is it not enough for her to say one God and follow Nabi Isa? Because they have a strong love for Nabi Isa as Catholics. Strong love. So is it enough to do that? Right? Say there is no God but Allah and Isa is a prophet. Right? Must she take that extra length and say about Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam? Must she? Of course, the answer is yes. The answer is yes, she must. Right? But at that point in time when she was in Singapore, I wasn't there, I was in Tarim at that time. They brought her to the Convert Association. They thought maybe the ustaz there could speak to her, in some way and maybe convince her, right, to embrace Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Right, but unfortunately the ustaz there could not. he described Rasulullah in a way that did not make him prophetic, or did not describe as something that is prophetic, but rather he said that Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he is a good man, righteous, truthful. Right? You can say that about a lot of people, in a sense. You have to give a proof that makes them prophetic, right? Bring the miracles, right? Bring the mu'jiza, right? Bring the even akhlaq that is beyond other human beings. Prophetic, not looking for amazing. Amazing is too low for Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He's above amazing. He's prophetic. He's extraordinary, beyond other human beings. And Imam Buti speaks about this in his fiqh sirah. He says that we don't reduce him to being amazing. It's a reduction, mashallah. To call him amazing is a reduction. He's beyond amazing, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, because it's not normal human being, but it's a prophet. That's why Sayyidina Al-Abbas, innahu nubuwah. Ya Abu Sufyan, it's not muluk. It is not kingdom Abu Sufyan. It's not a great king. Innahu nubuwah. It's a prophet. Subhanahu wa ta'ala, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Mashallah. So that's why, we go against in the statement, we do not, we declare ourselves free of any religion that is contrary to the religion of Islam. We believe in every book Allah has revealed wajib, in every prophet that Allah has sent, and the angels of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala decree good and bad of it, and the last day, and in everything that our leader Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam has brought to us from Allah. On these beliefs we live, inshallah ya Rab, and on it we die, inshallah ya Rab, and on it we be resurrected, inshallah ya Rab, by the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as those who are saved, those who have no fear on them, nor do they grieve. All this by your bounty, Ya Allah, O Lord of the worlds. May Allah's salawat and salutations be on our leader Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, his companions, and all praises are only for Allah, Lord of the worlds. And so therefore you can see how it is general. If every Muslim held on to this one statement by Imam al-Haddad, enough as your aqidah. Enough. Because aqidah is basically to push you towards your ibadah. So we don't in a sense obsess so much about questions, because sometimes it could be a door of shaitan making you distracted. So they ask all kinds of aqidah questions, right? Whereas like our grandmothers, our grandparents, right? Enough, they have their shahada, they go on to their tahajjud. Mashallah. And no question. Halas, we're done. We know Allah is one, the Prophet ﷺ is true. Tell me the sunnah, I will do it. Right, halas. No, all this. Are you sure, Sahih? Are you sure? Halas, they're up. So tasbih up. They're duha up. Mashallah. They're doing their fastings all through Rajab. We're Sahih to fast Rajab. Are you sure Sahih to fast? By the time you ask your question, Sha'ban already. Halas. Mashallah. So this is about Aqidah. Aqidah is to push you into your Sharia. On the day of judgment, Allah's not going to ask you what are the proofs that I exist. It's in front of you. Khalas. In Yawm al-Qiyamah, Allah will ask you, Salat, come on. Salat, Saum, your Zadaqah, your Zakat. Bring it forth. He's not going to ask you how much you understand how I exist. How much you understand about, like that is for your own Aqidah. Khalas. Yawm al-Qiyamah, subhanAllah. It's all about ibadah. It's all the ibadah coming in. MashaAllah. So, this is why Aqidah can be short. That's all you need to know. As only those who have illnesses in their hearts, then we go a bit more long on them. Inshallah. So, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Right, so the beginning, the first part, the meaning of Basmala. Right, so we have the standard explanations here. So the Ba Right, the ba, right, has the meaning of the B, the Bismillah, with the blessings, the permission, and the assistance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right? So when you have this, when you say Bismillah on anything, right, with the blessings, with the permission, and with the assistance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And there's a lot of stories with regards to the Basmala. MashaAllah. Bashir al-Hafi, one of his stories is that, and read the stories of the awliya. The awliya in Hadramaut, read their stories. And the awliya around the world, there are many awliya, in this world, they are well known. Right? And Bashir al-Hafi is one of those awliya who was well known about his story. Right? So and there are a few of the awliya that have a similar story. So his story was that he is called Bashir al-Hafi because he is barefoot. I told you story before, right? Bashir al-Hafi. No, never. I can't remember which class I tell what. but Bashir al-Hafi, he's called Bashir al-Hafi, the one who is barefoot, right? Because the story goes that he was having a party in his house, right? And a wali went by his house, and then he had a slave girl, right? And the slave girl was coming out to throw some rubbish, and the wali was there, and the wali said to the slave girl, "Is the owner of this house that was having a party with men and women and alcohol and whatsoever, is the owner a slave or a free man?" And the slave girl was like, "Of course a free man." Right? Let's look at the house. Of course it's a free man. And then the wali said, "Of course, a slave would not behave that way." Subhanallah. A slave of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would not behave that way. And the wali walked on. And so Bishr, he was the owner of the house, and the one who threw the party. Right? So he saw his slave girl talking to someone. So when she came back, he said to her, "Who are you talking to?" And she was like, "There's some guy outside and asked if the owner of his house was a slave or a free man." And I told him, "Of course a free man." And he was like, "Of course, a slave would not behave in such a way." And at that point in time, the light of tawbah, the light of repentance came to the heart of Bishr. And he said, he is right. A slave does not behave this way. He is right. A slave does not behave this way. So he ran out of his house. He was rich, Bashir al-Hafi was very rich. He ran out of his house without his shoes. Right? He ran after the wali, to find the wali. Right? And then he called the wali and he says, I repent at your hands. Right? Please teach me. Right? And then he followed the path of the wali, became a disciple. Right? And from then on, he never put on shoes. And when he asked, he said, because my repentance came when I had no shoes on. So I want to keep this state, of not having shoes. So it's called Bashir al-Hafi for the reason. This is the story of him. But he has all these awliya stories and so on. Mashallah. My husband is obsessed with awliya stories. So I can ask him about the story of that wali who did this and this, and he will say the name of the wali. Okay. Got the story down. Mashallah. He just tell me who are the awliya. Obsession with awliya since he was a teenager. Obsessed with awliya. MashaAllah. So mashallah. So Bashir al-Hafi had a story, mashallah, when he was walking and he saw a piece of paper on the ground, right? And he picked it up, right? And he opened it and he saw the words Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, right? And then so he was, the name of Allah should not be on the ground, right? So he took it, and then he cleaned it, right? And he put some perfume on it and he put it high on the shelf, right? And then he had a caller call out. There was like a hatif, call out. Like, Ya Bishr, oh Bishr, you have raised our name, and therefore we will raise your name in paradise. Inshallah. So the stories of the awliya, of the Basmala, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. And there are many stories of Basmala. Some of the pious have given us a wirid of doing Basmala at least 25 times before you sleep. There's one narration, right? Or if you can do more, 100 times before you sleep. Bismillah means just go Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. So that you can have a wirid of Basmala, and that opens up for a person whatever is closed for them. The word Allah, Bismillah, the word Allah is the name that points to the essence of the one worshipped in truth, because many things are worshipped in falsehood. Right? So Allah is the only one, al-ma'bud bil-haq, the one who is worshipped in truth, subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Allah has an essence, the that of Allah, the essence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If someone were to ask you, explain to me what is this that you speak about, Right, so we say, to give a parable, of course Allah is above all parables, but parables brings our understanding closer. Right, so we say that, okay, you know what, with regards to things, right, we know things are made of matter, right, atoms and molecules and so on. Okay, so I am made up of what I made up of, cells and so on. The air is made up of atoms and molecules, right? Even light is made up of photons. So everything in the creation, you say, is made up of something. So Allah is not made up of anything, because the creation have that. Allah does not have it. But at the same time, you don't say Allah is nothing. You can't say that. Allah exists. Allah is a being. So we say Allah's that, meaning His existence. Basically, it just means existence, His existence. So Allah is real. He's al-haq. He is real. Right? So it's not the imagination of the believers in God, as the atheists claim. The atheists claim that we imagine God. Right? So therefore, we have this image of God in our minds, and then it helps us get through life. So we believe in God because we have to. In a sense, because it gives us sanity to believe in God. Right? So the atheist says that. They say that. So it's not a real thing. Right? But it's just from our minds. So no. No. You know, Allah is the only wajibul wujud. That His existence is wajib. That means He's the only one that has to exist, and the only one who exists in truth. Do we have to exist? No. We are from the sifat that is permissible in the haqq of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah has one sifat, or one attribute that is permissible. It's jaiz for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which is that Him doing something is the same as Him not doing it. So the whole creation falls under that, actually. It falls under that one sifat jaiz. If Allah wants to create this entire universe, He can. If He does not want to, He can. Right? Yeah, it makes no difference to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It makes no difference. Absolutely no difference, mashallah. Right? So we are from His sifat jaiz. You know, mashallah. We don't have to exist. Right? He has to exist, subhanahu wa ta'ala. He's wajib bil wujud. Wajib bil wujud. He must exist. We exist and exist, and who cares, right? Mashallah. Right? But we don't have to, but Allah brings us into existence. Right? You know, mashallah. Right? So so the irony is that human beings are saying that we exist and God does not. Whereas His existence is wajib, and our existence depends on His existence. You know, mashallah. And we are jaiz. We're not even supposed to, they don't have to exist. We. You know, mashallah. Right, this is why it's an irony. It's an irony. The arrogance to the extent, you know, subhanallah. Ya Allah, and Ar-Rahman, Ar-Rahim. Ar-Rahman, the one whose mercy extends over all His creation, and Ar-Rahim, the one whose mercy is especially on those who are worshipping in one of the narrations. So one of the opinions says this, as Ar-Rahman, it says Rahmanul Dunya wa Rahimul Akhirah. Rahmanul Dunya wa Rahimul Akhirah. So the trait of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Ar-Rahman, we see in this dunya as Him subhanahu wa ta'ala giving rain and giving food and giving light and giving family and giving health and so on. That is from Ar-Rahman. Right? His mercy descends on this earth to those who worship Him and those who don't worship Him. To all. They all receive the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Otherwise, they can't walk on this earth. Right? Those who disbelieve. And those that sin. Right? Allah lets us be. You know, yumahilhum. Allah gives you time until you get it right. Inshallah, get it right before we die. Right? So Allah does not sees us. Ar-Rahim is said to be reserved for the Day of Judgment. The Day of Judgment, where the believers will witness Ar-Rahim. They will witness the special mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on believers. Right? So that is when believers who are sinful, believers who are basically crying out, believers who deserve the hellfire and so on, Ar-Rahim comes in, the name of Ar-Rahim. And also in parts of paradise, levels of paradise, when believers are at a lower level and they want to go up higher and higher, Ar-Rahim. Right? So Rahmanul Dunya, so Rahman is what is witnessed in the dunya, and Ar-Rahim is what is witnessed in the Akhirah. And there are many different opinions about it, about the Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim and how it's being used. Okay, let me just read to the page. Rasulullah SAW said in the hadith, any matter of significance that begin Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, it is cut off. So we begin in the Quran, and the way of Rasulullah SAW had all these documents also begin with Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Right, the word Aqidah, because from the title there, Aqidah, it means something that is tied, right, by the Sharia. It is a matter that is firm in the heart, whereby no form of doubt or assumption is able to find a way to it, right, to what he has tied himself to in reality. The word aqd, aqd nikah, for example, aqd bay'ah, right? So aqd is a tie. You tie something, right? It's a knot. You knot, right? So that means I have tied my life to what Islam says, right? And you can see that. So I have tied my entire thinking, my entire actions, my decisions to that Allah is one God, and there are prophets that has been sent. My Prophet Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. There is a day of judgment. There are books being sent. There are angels, and there's a decree. Right. So I have tied myself to this. So when we make decisions in our life for ourselves and for our family, like, we are tied to this set of aqidah, and it must be so lah. It must be so. We don't live our lives like those who don't believe, right? And so it's called aqidah. You're being tied, right? So when someone says, sleep through the morning, no, I'm being tied by the Sharia. I gotta wake up. The Sharia has tied me to this. I have dedicated my life to this. I'm tied, right? Someone says, eat this food. No, I can't if it's not halal. I'm tied to it. I can't. I can't put it in my mouth. I cannot, because my aqidah tells me that I can't. So it's a tying up. And so someone says that Islam is restrictive. It is. It is what? Restrictive. It is. Guidance must be
Protective.
Yeah, protective. Is it protective? You change the word. Protective. Right? I mean, you put on a seatbelt, you are restricted. Why? Protection. Right? How can something protect if it does not restrict? So if someone says Islam is restrictive, yes, to protect you from harm. Good, it's restrictive. It's supposed to be. Mashallah. But it's a good thing, mashallah. Mashallah. So it's something whereby the heart is tied to, right? And it has no doubt, no assumption, but it's something that is firm in the heart. And then Mujmala, a summarized overall general creed of Islam that every Muslim must know. So inshallah, I will continue the next part, the next lesson, inshallah. And we can finish the Mujmala quickly, actually, inshallah. Right. Are there any questions? Any questions? And as we go along, it will get faster also, because I cover topics as I go along. So they will be repeated also, right, in Nafil Awam.
I have a story, not a question.
Share your story.
When you talked about how Catholics, it's hard for them to have a love for Rasulullah, except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There is a book of Sayyid Hagayi Jifri he wrote about Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam. It's called Jesus, the son of Mary. Jesus Christ, the son of Mary. And there was one day I was actually living with a Catholic girl from Mexico, and
they're very tayyib.
Subhanallah, jiddan, yeah. And I showed her that book, and she cried because she was like, she knew that I was Muslim and we're speaking about religion. And when I would show her the book, she was like, I don't believe you're giving me this. Like, I never seen such much respect from a religion like this. You're giving a book about my prophet. I said, he's my prophet too. Yeah. And she fell in love with it, and she became a Muslim, alhamdulillah. And because it's all this media stream that's also making them think that Islam is bad. And so she had a lot of questions about that. And subhanallah, also when she read the book, it's about the Dajjal also, and Antichrist coming later on and all that. So it was very interesting for her. So I'm just saying, when they see also how Islam view Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam, then inshallah could be means inshallah.
Because even in the Quran, Allah mentions about the Christians, right? And their eyes well up in tears. When they hear Allah's verses, the Christians, and those who are true Christians, right? And they hear Allah's verses. And this happened in the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Their eyes well up in tears.
I love this.
Right, and that's the part of the surah, right? And then and because of what they know to be true. Right? And then they'll say, oh our Lord. Right, Allah down as those who right? Rabbana. There's the ayat that comes in Surah An'am. Surah An'am, Surah Anfal.
What is the beginning of the ayah? The beginning?
I know that من القسيسين
قبل مما عرفوا من الحق.
Yeah, I know. I've heard I need to go back to the beach. But there is part in the Quran whereby Allah describes, right, that those who are closer to the believers, they are the Christians. Right? And of them, when they hear Allah's verses, their eyes well up. Right? And they say, for what they know is true, they say, oh our Lord, and then there's ayat in that. So there are Christians who are like that. The Negus was like that. And the Najashi. And when he heard the Quran being recited, he welled up. And there was a group of people who were sent to Medina, like they were Christians. And they heard the Quran, they also began crying. And it was the ayat was revealed because of them. They began crying and they came into Islam. Inshallah. Tayyibun. Now.
Quick question. The book you mentioned last week, the criteria of divine revelation. Do you remember the author's name?
The author is Ustaz Zulkifli. She's a Singaporean. Ustaz Zulkifli, the criterion of what was it called?
I said it last week.
Yeah, you told me the title last week. What was it? The criteria of the holy book. The criteria of a holy book is a book. The criteria of a holy book by Ustaz Zulkifli. Very good book, mashallah. Into the Fatiha. Here it is sweet. I don't know who's the oldest here. or Hala Najma, is it? Hala, do the Fatiha. ربنا آمنا ربنا آمنا لا
ربنا آمنا بما أنزلت واتبعنا الرسول فاكتبنا مع الشاهدين. أيوة ربنا آمنا بما أنزلت واتبعنا الرسول فاكتبنا مع الشاهدين.
Is that book still sold or not?
Yes.
This is someone wants to.
She was maybe at 5 or 3 and she was loved by Abu Sufyan and by Abu Jahl. And then she went to Rasulullah and see that guy catching him. So Sufyan said, what, you slapped him? Did you slap her? And he goes, yeah, what you slapped her? She's the daughter of Muhammad. And then she
Subhanallah.
and then
Bring him to Islam, inshallah. He eventually came to Islam, inshallah. And one thing I always say to the children, that in the time of Rasulullah, many of the who were enemies at first came into Islam thereafter, but none of them were mustahzi'un. Mustahzi'un are those who mock. And the danger of mocking and making fun. Yeah, all of the mustahzi'un, those who used to mock Rasulullah, none of them came into Islam. None of them. The dangers of mocking and calling names. So I always say to my kids whenever I teach kids, don't you dare mock anyone. Don't you make fun. Because none of them got hidayah. So those that were kafir came into Islam, none of them mocked. They were kafir and they fought Rasulullah, but they never actually made fun of Rasulullah. They never actually made fun of Muslims. Just enemies lah. Enemies, mashallah. But then eventually they came into Islam. Mashallah. The danger of mocking. Must say to kids, because in schools in back home, right? The culture of making fun. It's a terrible thing. Yeah. I get so upset when I hear any of my students calling names and so on. So upset. It's a really bad akhlaq, you know. It's a form of arrogance as well. There's an arrogance there. When you call someone this, call someone that, you know, like I cannot take it. I hear any mocking going on. Can't tahan mocking.